Well, hello there. I have this oddest sense of deja vu right now. Anyway, so as I have probably mentioned elsewhere, I am trying to um, start posting more regularly on my YouTube channel in an attempt to try and increase my presence there. Hopefully, drive some more attention um, to the channel and to the books help increase sales, get actually the books out into people's hands where they can actually be read, and and just generally increase my online presence. So I decided to start with this a short little get to know you kind of thing, just some general things about me, writing and such. It's going to be rambling a bit. If I repeat myself, sorry. I tend to do that when I'm speaking off the cuff. But and we'll see how it goes. This is the fourth time I've tried to do this, and this will be the last. So that anyway. Uh, Originally born in the Bronx, New York. Grew up out on Long Island. Always had an active imagination. I mean, I would always play with the toys I got when I was a kid, but I would always play with the boxes more because the boxes would allow me to use my imagination more. That came that came in handy when we moved actually from the Bronx out to Long Island because out there in Long Island I didn't have a lot of friends. And being the extreme introvert that I am, I never did really make a lot of friends. I still don't have a lot of friends. Um, I never actually thought about writing. I always read a lot. I always read a lot, but I never thought about writing until 1975. And that's when a British science fiction show called Space 1999 premiered. The basic premise for those who don't know, in the far off future of 1999, remember this was 75, uh, the moon is blown out of orbit, and goes careening through the galaxy, encountering aliens and more habitable planets than they should have run into on a weekly basis. But that's beside the point. Also, beside the point is the fact that any explosion large enough to push the moon out of orbit would have destroyed the moon. But again, that's neither here nor there. Um, and I don't know what it was, but something about Space 1999 resonated with me, and I started writing. I don't know if the word fan fiction was in existence in '75, but that's essentially what it was. There were fics, bad fan. There was fan fiction, really, really bad fan fiction, extremely bad fan fiction. And before you ask, no, they were lost in a house fire. And I did that through Space 1999 to run. I tried even in when the second season rolled around. For those of you who don't know, there were cast overhauls and a lot of changes were made to the series. I tried to find a way to walk the line between the two series, and it was nothing I was really obsessed with. I mean, I wrote, yeah, but it didn't. It I could stop easily, no problem. Then 1977 rolled around, and a little film you may have heard of called Star Wars. Back when it was really only just Star Wars. This was before A New Hope. And I remember going to see it with my father and my brother and a friend of ours. And I just remember sitting there. It's like my eyes were like saucers. It's like, oh my God. And then at the end, it's like a switch was thrown in my head. It's like, this is what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, that's the next day I started writing. And that first piece, yeah, it was imaginatively titled Solar Attacks. Yeah, even back then I had a knack for titles. Excuse me. And excuse me. So I started writing and came up with my own characters, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And eventually I started sending things out and got rejected one after the other. Most of the time it was, it's not for us. It's not for us. It's not for us. And this was through high school, through college, and on into adulthood, writing and writing and writing and sending things out and not, and getting rejected. Until finally, in 2005, I got published. It was an online magazine. There was no money in it, but I was more concerned with getting published, being able to say on a cover letter, I got published here. Not that that really helped. And I had 3 more stories published, and then it stopped. No matter what I sent out, it still wasn't getting published. So I decided it's time to become more proactive. So what I did in 2012 was I started self-publishing. And the story and the books came out with Eyes Open. It's a collection of 2 stories. Campfire Stories, which is a collection of 8 stories. A Bright Symmetry, which is a little bit of an experiment on my part. It is 1 story, but instead of being divided into chapters, it's broken into individual stories, covering the life, 1 year in the life of the 2 main characters. And then there was The Fault Lies Not, which is the first of the actual novellas. Then Ray, and On a Cold Wind, which is the longest single story at about 34,000 words, roughly speaking. Then there was Brianna and the Three. And lastly, the most recent book, Upon a Far Distant Shore, which was just published at the end of this past July. I am at the point now where even if I should consciously decide I will not write anymore, I can't stop. I cannot stop myself from writing, because now it's to the point where it's done subconsciously. Even as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm in the back of my mind writing. I'm working on thinking about the first drafts that I have in progress, what happens next in those. I'm thinking about this right here, which is a story called Wanderer, which I'm doing, which I realized after I finished it, declared that it was finished and ready for editing. I realized there was a massive plot hole in it, and now I have to go back and correct that. And yeah, that brings us up to date with the writing. Um, I've always had I've always had an interest in science fiction. It's always given me this hope of that there will be a future, that the stupidity that grips humanity these days will eventually fade away, and be will actually grow up a little bit. I don't have much hope of that actually happening, but at least in my fictional universe, it happened. When I write, I'm writing for entertainment. I always say that I'm happiest when I'm writing. I'm writing for entertainment. I read for entertainment. If I want to learn something, I'll grab a textbook. If I just want to forget about the world for a little while, I'm going to grab any book, any fiction book. And that's really the kind of people, the kind of readers that I'm aiming at. Some writers want to change the world with their writing. I just want to entertain the world for a little while. When it comes to word counts, I'm not concerned with word counts when I'm writing. Somebody asks, "Well, how long is the story going to be?" As long as it takes to tell the story. I tried that. I tried sometimes to say, okay, the story's only going to be such and such a number of words in length, and it never works out. It's easier to just uh, say, whatever the final word count is after I finish editing and all is said and done, then I can tell you how many words it'll be. Which is not exactly what people will tell you how it's supposed to be done. I don't really listen to a lot of people who say you can't do it that way, because I've had people tell me that there's no way I can write the way I do. People will say you can't write a story without plotting it out first, making a plot outline, following it like it's instructions for disarming a nuclear detonator. All my stories were written without plot outlines. Now, granted, it's slower. You have to, sometimes I have to stop and put the story aside while I try and figure out what happens next. Sometimes I'll make notes. Sometimes I'll make notes. This is from My Soul to Keep. I'll make notes, just general notes about what's coming up. This way I at least have a general idea where I'm going. But even that, I don't follow precisely. Again, it's more of just a general guideline. Because I feel that makes the story feel a bit more organic, a bit more like I'm learning the story at the same time the reader is learning the story. I'll go into these later on. I'll talk about plotting and why I don't plot at a later time. But yeah, suffice to say that the stories will not stop coming. I have Raven, which I have finished editing. It's ready to be formatted and submitted to Smashwords and Kindle and Lulu. and will be available again, like all the others, in print and ebook, print on demand, I should say. Wanderer, which is this one over here, is undergoing a extensive line by line edit because I found that massive plot hole in it. Then I have Stranger, which is finished and ready for. It's already gotten some editing. I'm hoping to go through it one or two more times, and have it ready to go. So that's it for now. If you to parody, to echo other YouTube channels. If you like this and want to hear me babble some more, hit the subscribe button down there at the bottom. I don't know if there is a little bell there to let you know when I'm putting up any videos. If there's anything that you'd like to know, put a comment down there at the bottom also. I'll also include a link to my website, and most of the links are there for the books. They'll take you to my Smashwords and Kindle homepage, and unfortunately others you'd have to track down on your own, but they are available in ebook and print on demand. So that's it for now. Thank you for listening to me babble. And remember, I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. Take care.